And so if you're a nurse and you know that this makes no sense,
Mhm.
doctors and certainly pulmonary experts and lung experts, they had to know that they were doing this, and that it was a bad medicine. And I had people, again, people who, my mom died, my dad, I know a lady who died, and they would yell at me for telling the truth about COVID. And they would go, "Oh, you're really every doctor in the world somehow is going along with this conspiracy." What do you say to someone who says something like that?
It's really hard to understand. I ask this all the time. Like, are they just complicit in the lie and the silence, or did they just not know any better when they should? Yeah, I'll leave it to you to decide which of those scenarios is more frightening to you. But I can remember distinctly arguing with a doctor at the bedside of a patient. He was pushing. He said it's the key to this is early intubation, and I was arguing back and forth with him, and I was saying no, it's early treatment, because we knew when we placed those patients on ventilators, they had about an 80% chance that they were not getting off of that. We knew that. So every single time that we did that, we in effect signed their death warrant with every unnecessary intubation that we did. But I can remember arguing with the doctors, and they would just say, I would say, why are we doing this? It doesn't make any sense. And they would just say, it's protocol. And that's the only answer that they ever had.
I make a correlation between I'm a big anti-war advocate and I expose the mainstream media, which is bought by banks, which most wars are bankers' wars and bought by the military-industrial complex. And they work for billionaires. They work for the oligarchs. Only a handful of billionaires that run all the media in the United States. And people like, oh, really, Jimmy? Every journalist is a criminal, or they're corrupted, or they're easily corrupted. And I have to remind people that you don't get to be a journalist in corporate America if you think outside the box, if you have something to say that they don't want you to say. And those people who are in corporate America as a journalist, they have been seasoned. They've been, what's the word I'm looking for? They have been conditioned. Since they were in kindergarten to sit in those editorial rooms, because they never colored outside the lines, and so they don't know that they've been conditioned to be these go along journalists without questioning and pushing an establishment billionaires narrative without them even know. They don't even know that they are, which is why I'll never be able to sit in one of those meetings. Right? They've been groomed to sit in those meetings, and they've weeded out the people who will actually push back against the establishment narrative. And the same thing goes with doctors. You don't become a doctor because you push back against your medical textbook in the medical school. You become a doctor because you can remember things and recite them back. That's how, and that's what doctors really are. Very few doctors are actually free thinkers or innovators or people who will push back against the establishment. And the ones that did, like Dr. Pierre Corey, who was a leader in his specialty, they credited him because he actually did tell the truth about COVID. Same thing with Dr. Robert Malone, who is a vaccinologist, owns several patents on vaccines. He told the truth about the vaccine, and they discredited him too. The same, they put hit pieces on him in the media in the Atlantic. So the same thing. So that's how it happens with doctors. Doctors are not radicals. Doctors are not free thinkers. Doctors are people who've been groomed to repeat back what they've heard in a medical textbook. For the most part, there's a small percentage of doctors and nurses like yourself, but for the most part, that's not how you become a doctor. That's not how you get to pay off your student loans, is by questioning the official narrative and thinking outside the box. You're immediately discredited, you're decredited, and you're kicked out of the profession. That's usually what happens, and that's how something like this is able to happen. Just like with every time a war happens, everybody in the media, every media outlet seems to be pro-war. Isn't it amazing? Every war, and then we learn years later that, of course, the war was a lie, and we've been lied to every war in my lifetime.